And next, we're moving on to Dr. Cristiano Guarana from Indiana University's Kelley School of Business. And his talk is titled The Effects of Infant Sleep on Parent Sleep, Work Engagement, and Task Performance. So thank you, Cristiano.
Thank you, Natalie. Yeah, I'm assuming you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you perfectly.
Fantastic, fantastic. So exciting, right? So many interesting papers. So it gives me hope and um, it creates so many ideas for me to do research because I am an organizational psychologist and I use sleep to explain some work and leadership outcomes. So learning from you, it's really inspiring. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here. And today, I'll be talking a little bit more about baby sleep and the impact of that on work outcomes. But I needed to acknowledge the wonderful work of my collaborators, Chris Barnes, who is at UW, University of Washington, Michael Nugent, who is a PhD student working with me here at Indiana University, and Asia Bari, that is another PhD student, but now at UW, working closely with Chris Barnes. But I would like to start by acknowledging, right, that we have um, two domains that dominate our lives. One is our families, and the other is the work, right? And there are many demands that we have at work that typically spills over in our family, in our lives outside of work. Think about the work demands that you have. Think about if you have a deadline that's coming up, so you needed to stay at work a little bit longer. Think about potentially a not nice leader that you have, an abusive supervisor. And sometimes when we have those leaders, there is a spillover effect on how we relate to people at home as well. Right? The research has shown that when I work for an abusive leader, I myself become a little bit more hostile at home. So all of those demands, responsibilities that we have at work can spill over at non-work events. But the opposite's also true, right? So sometimes demands that we have at home or non-work demands can spill over at work that we perform, right? So think about taking care of a pet, for example, right? Or if we move more towards being a parent, taking care of our kids, helping with their homeworks, taking them um, to a doctor's appointment, right? Even cooking for them. All of those are demands or responsibilities that we have at home that can spill over and influence our availability to perform work, and sometimes not even the availability, but the cognitive presence at work, right? So you're more tired or you're constantly thinking about your kid that's sick. So there is also this effect of family to work, and there is a potential for conflicts among those roles. What research shows is that when there is this potential conflicts, right, the health of the individual suffers, right? Our well-being gets worse. The performance at work also decreases. But what's happening now is that most of this literature, the family to work conflict literature, has focused on waking activities, right? They are we know a little bit about parental demands, mainly towards number of kids or the age of the kids, but all the activities that we've done research so far happened during waking times. But what about those demands, right? So we challenge this assumption that only wake-centric demands, right, are important. We now start looking at other parental demands that happened overnight. In particularly, when babies are sleeping, right? Is sleeping through the night. And so this is the model that we are testing, right? The back end of the model, right, where we look at the relationship between parent sleep duration and quality on work engagement, and the task performance, that has been done multiple times, right? So again, work engagement is mainly that being absorbed by your job, right? So it's you are cognitively, emotionally, and physically absorbed by your job. And the task performance is the behavioral manifestation of contributions. We know that when individuals are sleep deprived, they are not, their cognitions don't work well, right? So we are not able to focus on tasks. Our performance in tasks tends to decrease. What we do know less in the organizational literature is the impact of infant sleep, and we look at in sleep duration and sleep quality on parents, and then the cascading effect on work outcomes. We also hypothesize that apparent cognition um, can influence the strength of those indirect effects. And this cognition is called the parent's beliefs about responding to infant night wakings, which is consistent with one of our presentations today, right? So the idea here is that for those parents who tend to be um, over concerned, right? For parents that think that they have to attend to baby's awakening all the time, what we are hypothesizing is that those indirect effects tended to be stronger compared to parents who are not super tuned to waking up all the time to attend to babies' awakings. Um, to test for this model, we partnered with Nanit, and thank you again for the opportunity. And we conducted a within individual field study. So there were 125 parents, about roughly 1,000 daily observations. Most of the sample are women. And importantly, in this case, both parents had to be full-time employees, and they were not on leaves, right? So they were engaging in their work. Um, the data collection happened through two phases. The first phase was mainly the recruitment phase that we asked parents to consent for the study, right? And then they also offered data on their demographics, and we measured our level two moderator, right? Our individual level moderator, so beliefs of responding to infant wakings. And on phase two, we now collect the data on for 5 weeks on Tuesdays and Thursdays, twice a day, right? We chose Tuesdays and Thursdays to minimize concerns with the weekend effect, right? And also only Tuesdays and Thursdays to make the data collection time a little bit longer, and minimizing potential effects of a kid being sick or other contextual variables. So in this case, 10 observations through 5 weeks. We sent surveys to parents twice per day, right? So one early in the morning where they reported on their own sleep patterns, right? So we measured sleep duration with the Pittsburgh Sleep Diary, sleep quality with the Karolinska Sleep Diary, and we also asked participants to report on their effect, right? On their state effect, positive effect and negative effect in that morning. We use those as control variables and for additional analysis in our data. And then at 4 p.m., we sent another survey to parents asking for their self-report on their work engagement and task performance. All the scales that we used here were psychometrically valid, and they were all above the threshold of reliability levels, right? The Cronbach alpha was all above 0.7. Um, So this is what we found, right? So we did find that especially sleep duration, right? And infant sleep duration had a positive effect on parent sleep duration and parent sleep quality, right? Infant sleep quality, which we operationalize here as the number of wakings of the baby, perhaps not the best measure of baby sleep quality. So perhaps that's one of the reasons that we are not finding the effects here. But we also found that parent sleep duration influenced work engagement and test performance. I should say that we conduct a multi-level analysis here, right? So because the data was nested in the parent and the baby, so we are partitioning out any parent confounding variables in this case. We ran analysis controlling for parent gender, parent age. We tried to take care of psycho effects as well. All those analyses are in the appendix of the paper. And we also found an interaction between sleep duration and parents' belief that they should attend to the baby. And the pattern of the interaction is as we would expect. The effects on work engagement uh, were moderated by the variable that we had, right? This belief that parents should wake up to help the baby. So what we find here is that infant sleep duration influences work engagement via parent sleep duration, especially when the parents believe that they needed to help the baby. We also found similar effects when the outcome was task performance. So what we make a few theoretical contributions for the management literature here, right? So to the work engagement and the task performance, two of the most important outcomes in organizations, right? We find that infant sleep, right, can influence performance above and beyond what the experiences that parents have, right? And also to the family to work theory, we now introduce this parental demand that happens overnight. And the literature up to this point had just looked at demands that happen during the day. And today's sleep theory will also show that infant sleep is positively related to parent sleep. But that's also a function of the parent cognition. So the more the parent believe that they needed to attend to the infant, the stronger is the relationship between infant sleep and the parent in sleep. With that said, thank you. And if you have questions, I'm more than happy to answer